Institute of Health and with the Springfield Family Center, and subsequently Executive Chef Jason Tostrup. Yes.
Yes.
I just want to say, to share a little bit with you about the power of food as medicine. This is being brought to you by the Lifestyle Medicine Department here at North Star Health. Myself, Dr. Durgan, our nurse care coordinator, Christina, our exercise physiologist, Kristen. So we're really excited and really warmed that there's such a turnout to an event like this. And our hope, our plan is to grow events like this, and for you to spread the word in your communities around how food really is medicine. So without further ado, our executive chef, Jason, and his sous chef, Olivia.
All right. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about why that's important to me, introduce myself a little bit. I'm also going to share my story with you and why I am here, and then we'll do a little bit of cooking. We'll try to make something for you all to taste. Something that's tasty and nutritious and hopefully inspire you. But most importantly, I want to talk about first is food is medicine. So I'm going to talk a little bit before we get cooking right away. And to me, food is medicine is a very powerful thing. Food is a choice that we have to make every single day. We have to eat to live. Nourishment and eating has been since we've been a human species. And long ago, we didn't have a lot of choices. They were, organic, local, and seasonal all the time. There were no choices that we have like today. And that's why it's so important today that we learn how to make better choices. You'll hear me say a lot, the choice of food, right? So every day you have to make that choice. And because of modern food and culture, we have a lot of choices. You all know this already. We're faced with advertisements and companies and corporations and food that's available all year round. So it's confusing, right? But at the simple core, food is a choice that we need to make to nourish our bodies. And so today I want to, maybe light a little fire under all of you and help answer questions on how do I start that process? How do I, start that health journey? And you may not even have a health problem. It may be preventative. Food as health is a preventative way of eating as well. So a little bit about myself. I'm a chef. I'm a father of two. This is Olivia, my sous chef. And I have a son, Jacob, who is at driver's ed. So we know where that's more important. I'm also a food enthusiast. Over 20 years, I've been, focused on health and nutrition and eating and community, right? That's something that I'm very passionate about. Community is probably a really important part of all of this. We're a community here today, and as we share collectively with one another today, we're going to learn from one another. We are strength in that. And so that's something I'm truly passionate. Food is the center of the table, of a household, of a celebration, so many things. We have the ability to impact food in our lives. And that impact as medicine is really one of the most important things that sometimes we overlook. So my reason for food and health is my own personal story, which I've shared a little bit out there, but I'll share with you today. Back in 2009, I was faced with some adversity. I was a 40-year-old chef, thought I was healthy and starting a family, but something was happening, and I couldn't quite understand what it was. I started having some health symptoms, and I could feel that there was something going on with me back in 2009. But I didn't know really what was happening, and in 2010, some of my symptoms and pain and confusion and fatigue continued to build. And yet, I didn't really know why. I just kind of chalked it up to, I'm getting a little bit older. I got more aches and pains, right? We all have that. And this story is important because we all kind of get older a little bit and have more aches and pains. But it's also important to listen and to ask for help. So by 2010, I had started to really develop some illness symptoms that I could not explain. Excruciating pain, fatigue that I just could not recover from. By 2011, my symptoms had progressed, and I was starting to be kind of debilitated. It was affecting my everyday life, at work and home. So I went and sought some further medical assistance. I saw an advanced doctor and got some testing done. And lo and behold, it found out that there was something wrong. It wasn't the old age that I thought it was. And I was diagnosed in 2011 with multiple sclerosis, MS, an uncurable disease that is really hard to manage. And so that's my story. And at the time, I was a chef, I was a father, and it was kind of devastating news to, a 40-year-old man that, wow, I am extremely ill. How can that be? How can I be 40 and be that ill? I led a healthy life. I thought I was eating well, but yet, I was still affected by that illness. At the time, I was a nationally recognized chef that was focused on farm to table, eating healthy, and wellness. And so that diagnosis was, devastating. It stopped me in my tracks. And it was scary for all of us. And because of that diagnosis, I sat with a neurologist, the best neurologist that Dartmouth had to offer, and talked to him about what's my future. And he let me know, your illness has really progressed. Your life as a chef may not be the best choice for you. You may not be able to be a chef again. And quite frankly, your symptoms may progress. You may need a cane or a wheelchair or, be bedridden. That's kind of the road that was put in front of me. I was like, how could that be? There has to be another way. So my road, lucky enough for me, I chose kind of a two-pronged direction. And I chose both medicine and food and herbalism to kind of combat an uncurable disease. And I was determined to see whatever I could do to, get better or healthy. And so that's the road I took. And I was very fortunate. At the time, I had a great neurologist to help me deal with some medicine that deal with the pain. And I saw 2 videos that changed my life forever. And a friend of mine shared a video about a woman who had multiple sclerosis, Dr. Terry Walls. And somehow miraculously went from a bedridden, individual to a wheelchair and then walking again. And it was really a powerful story. And she had 2 young children and was the same age as me. And so I'm kind of crazy, but if she could do it, I could do it. That's what I said to myself. So I fought really, really hard. And I also found an herbalist, and I took that route. And I took herbs and medications of that nature, of Chinese medicinals. And over a course of 3 challenging years, I was able to kind of stabilize my disease. I stayed working in the kitchens. I stayed, raising my children, coaching them, very active and involved. And quite honestly, in some respects, I was healthier than I'd ever been. And then as now 13 years later, I'm still a chef. I'm still thriving, and I'm very fortunate that I'm standing before you today, being able to do that. And if I was sitting, that'd be okay too. But that's kind of my personal story, how food transformed me. And the most important thing that I share when I talk about this, it's not one or the other, right? And sometimes we feel like, well, it's got to be medicine or you got to be all alternative, right? And I think why we're here today is because, medical systems are understanding it is a group effort. You don't have to decide one or the other. It can be a balance or a blend of both modern medicine and food as medicine. And so, that's what I try to always encourage. And I talk to a lot of people about this and share that story, to always say yes when you need for help and never just say no to just one thing. Try something and you might be surprised. And for me, food was that change for me. So just to kind of, stop back for a minute, to go back to that, food is a choice, right? So you have an opportunity to choose. No matter if you're healthy right now, you have an illness, you have a loved one, someone that you know, a son, a daughter, a grandparent, someone that you're here to represent for, you can also inspire them to make that choice by leading by example or giving them the skills and the knowledge that you continue to want to be yearning for. But you have to ask for that help. You can't do it alone. I was a chef, feeding people and nourishing them. That's my job. But I didn't know how to do that. I had to ask for help. I had to learn how to do that. And so that's why I'm here today, to give back and to continue that process of caring and sharing for our community. So that's a little bit about my story. And so thank you for listening to that. So thank you. All right, so before we get into the cooking demonstration, one other thing a little exercise I'm going to do with everybody is there's kind of three important things, right, to good health, which is food, oxygen and breathing, and water. Those are the basic elements, and we're going to do a little bit about food here, but I'm going to talk about the breath and breathing. So the power of breathing is also another really important thing. And so what I want everyone to do right now is, to everyone, if you don't mind, close your eyes. And we're just going to practice a little bit of breathing and relax ourselves. So everyone just go ahead, close your eyes, take a big deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just do a little relaxing. And while you're doing that, I'm going to talk a little bit about why breathing is important to eating. Studies show that as you relax and breathe before you eat and ready yourself to eat, your digestive juices and your body calms itself and readies itself to eat. Your body needs to be relaxed in order to absorb those nutrients, right? And so I encourage all of you, as you're breathing and thinking, to remember, at a time that we're faster than ever, we're eating fast, we're thinking fast, everything's on the go. When it comes to your meal at home or on the go, take a moment, take a few breaths, allow your body to be nourished. Let it be relaxed. Internally, your body will thank you. So, all right, you can all open your eyes. There's no magic after that. And hopefully you're all nice and relaxed right now. So, all right. So any questions so far before we kind of get going? Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're making. We're cooking out of a book today. It's a very dramatic title, but it's How Not to Die Cookbook. Very dramatic. So I really like that. It's a beautiful book. I think we're giving one away tonight, right?
Well, a sister version.
A sister version of that, sorry. But it's a very beautiful book, and it's not tragic inside at all, and no one's dying. In fact, it's just quite the opposite. And so I read through this book, and there's really a lot of good recipes in that book. But I chose a recipe called the vegetable unfried rice, because fried rice is kind of something we're all familiar with. We order takeout. Most people know what that is. Most people don't realize it's not always that good for us, is it? You know, it's full of salts and sugars and things that aren't really good for us. So that's what we're going to make today. And Olivia, you're going to help me out. All right. So the reason why the unfried rice is going to be different is we're using a few different ingredients and a few different ratios. We're going to use brown rice instead of white rice. I actually threw some quinoa in this last batch. And we're going to do almost equal parts rice and vegetables, right? So that brown rice is going to add that much more nutrients, minerals, and vitamins, and vital essential ingredients that your body's going to really want to absorb. And the unfried rice that a lot of people were asking about, well, what is that? Is we're going to saute in water. Has anyone ever sauteed in water before? Yeah? Anyone? Who sauteed in oil? Who doesn't know what saute is? Come on, raise your hand. Saute. Really? No. Saute is just a term, right, of cooking in over high heat with a small amount of fat. So we're going to do that actually with water. So for the recipe, we're going to start by kind of getting some of our ingredients together. Olivia, I'm going to have you start, if you don't mind, just peeling these carrots. And I'm going to start by showing everyone how to peel and cut an onion. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is how I do it. If you have a whole onion, I like to use a paring knife to peel an onion. Some people might cut it in half first, but the onion seems to be intimidating. I've done a lot of cooking classes from high-end cooking classes to kids' cooking classes and everyone in between. This round, hard objects always seems to be the most intimidating things. So I always like to just show everyone how I do it. I like to start with kind of that, this is the blossom end, and this is the rooted end. I like to start, I just insert my paring knife in, and I like to make just a little circle, and I cut that little rooted end out. And I kind of use my thumb as a stopper, about a 1/4 inch in, and just rotate the onion, and just take those out. That I find for me is the best. And then also with that paring knife, then I'm just going to continue to kind of peel that onion back. And you're going to have, a little bit of loss, a little bit of waste. Now the onion skins are pretty good. Did anyone know that there's more nutrition in the skin of the onion than inside of the onion? So really important to save those onion peels to make, a stock, right? And stocks are really important. Anyone stock or broth? Right? So a stock or broth you can make with just about any kind of flavoring. But a vegetable stock is a great way to, save all your scraps for the week and make a little stock. So when you cook broths or anything like that, you can put the nutrition back in and also, have kind of zero waste. All right, so there we have our little onion. It's peeled. Put the peels right over there. Everyone knows you have to compost too, right? All right, and then we're going to cut that. We're going to mince that onion up. You got that peeled? Whoa, she's moving quick over there. All right, Olivia's going to grate those. We're going to grate those carrots. You want to start grating those as I'm chopping the onions? So to cut an onion, or we're gonna dice an onion, I like to cut it in half, obviously, because then it's more stable, right? And when you're cutting, we'll do some quick cutting skill knives, is you really want to be square to the cutting board, right? You want your product, whatever it is, kind of right in front of you, and it's just easier. I know that sounds simple. For a lot of people, just simple cutting is the most intimidating part about cooking, right? Is like, you got to do the work, right? But that work, you can make it fun. But learning the technique is important. So an onion is full of these little layers right here. So we're just going to cut across those layers to create a dice. In order to do that, we're going to put our hand on top of the onion, and we're just going to make a cut 80% through, kind of like that. And then one more, 80% through. It's just almost to the end, and cut that out again, and it's still intact. We're going to turn the onion towards you, and then using your fingers kind of like as a little holder, you run the knife. Knife skills you got to be comfortable with, but you kind of just use your hand as a guide and come down about 80%, not all the way, as you can see. And if you want to do a larger dice, you do more space in between, smaller dice, closer together. That easy and that simple. And so this is dicing an onion. And the goal is, doesn't always happen, is that it's always intact like that. So you leave the back end always kind of uncut. And you turn it back in that same position once again. And then we're going to cut our way all the way across. So once again, you're just going to cut down in that fashion. And, for some of you, I'm sure you know how to do this. And some of you, this might be something that's new for you. So, I appreciate everyone's patience and understanding. And then we get a nice medium dice. And this last little core piece, you can just simply cut down, hold it together, and turn it, right? So it's a very simple thing to do, but it's something that's important to learn how to do. Olivia, did you learn how to cut an onion? Do you like cutting onions?
No.
Luckily, this onion's not making us cry, so that's usually the hardest thing. All right, so we have our onions. We got some carrots, snow peas, broccoli. We have ginger, garlic, scallions, and lemon. Those are all our vegetables that are going to go in there. For seasonings, we have rice vinegar, we have more lemon, we have a miso paste, which is a fermented soybean. That has some health benefits to it. And then this is quite interesting. This is if you've seen in your recipe, there's molasses in there. So we're using molasses instead of a substitute as soy sauce, right? And, soy sauce isn't horrible, but it's got a lot of sodium in it, right? And so if you're looking for an alternative, once again, everyone's health and diet is different, right? You might be diabetic. You might have heart conditions. You might be like me, have an autoimmune disease. We all have differences of what we need to eat, right? For me, for autoimmune, fat's not as a big a problem that is getting nutrients in my body, right? And if you have heart disease, then, are we looking at sodium a little bit more, right? So this is a really fun alternative. Also, this is a fun fact because I just found out in my eating journey is always kind of growing and changing. And in this past year, I've had to change my eating habits where I had to eliminate a lot of fermented style vegetables like kale and Brussels sprouts because my body unfortunately no longer digested that. And in that journey, I did a little testing here at the clinic, and I found out my B12 was low as well. And lo and behold, molasses has a good form of B12 in there. So I thought that was kind of fun. So we're going to add that B12 in there and a soy substitute. We also have some chili flakes that we're going to add, and we'll go in there. So we're going to do two things next. We're going to mince and grate some ginger and garlic. Olivia, would you like to peel the garlic?
Yeah.
She loves peeling garlic. So I'll show you the head of garlic. It's nice and white. It has a clean stem. It's nice and firm, right? Always buy American garlic. It's really important. Anything that's imported, it's not controlled on really, unless it's organic, what soil it's grown in. So I'm sure some of you may have heard those stories, but really important to buy nice firm garlic. You want to see garlic that's not sprouting, and buy American garlic. It's really important. So for me, everyone has a different way to peel and slice garlic, right? For me, I don't like to smash it open because then it breaks the cellular structure of the garlic, and then we end up, with it not so good. I like to just dig my thumb in there and peel one clove out. So we got a nice clove here. Olivia, do you want to dig out and peel like 3 cloves of garlic?
Yeah.
Sound good? Okay. Meanwhile, I'm going to work on the ginger. So this is a nice piece of ginger. I like to take the outer sides off with a paring knife. And then the side, you can actually just scrape if you want it with the back of a spoon. You can see how easy that comes off. You could also use a peeler, right? Peeler works really well. So I always like to give people options. I'm a big fan of these kind of peelers. They're $1, but old-fashioned swivel peeler works. Or you can simply go ahead and cut those sides off. And the skin is edible, but it's not palatable as much. Once again, this I'm going to save and put in my stock for later because it's going to add lots of flavor and nutrition. Now, ginger's finicky, right? Anyone think that ginger's finicky? I think it's finicky. You don't know what you got until you open it up. And, I'm looking at this. Smells lemony and fragrant and good. It's a little browny. It's not as yellow as I would like, So that means when it's oxidized a little bit like that, it's going to be more fibrous usually as it's converted its sugars to kind of more starches. When it comes to cutting ginger, there's a lot of different ways to do that. You can slice it thin on a mandolin. You could use the box grater here and grate it on that. I'm a big fan. I like the microplaner. I know it seems like kind of a real fancy tool, but you can get this on Amazon for like $12. And I'm a big fan of this little microplaner. And if you've never used something like that, it's basically like a box grater, only there's one grate on there, and it's really fine. And they're pretty sharp. So I think that's really a great way to zest, and it's nice and sharp and extracts all that good flavor. And you can see it grates really pretty easy, and you don't get the fiber. So that's really good. I'm also going to do the garlic that way. I love grating things. I feel like it's a little bit easier to do, and you get a nice even cut. And when you're cooking, I think getting the good even cut is really important because your end result, you get a more consistent product. Got something for me?
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Put them right there. Same thing. So she peeled those garlics, no problem. Garlic is good for you, right? Really healthy for you, but it's not for everyone, right? And ginger may not be for everyone. You know, when it comes to cooking and all of these ingredients you can see before us, you may look at the miso and say, oh, I can't eat miso, or I don't like ginger. When it comes to cooking and recipes, you can add and subtract all you want. There's just a guideline to use, right? If you don't like it spicy with some chili flakes, then don't put that in there if you have, maybe a stomach issue. Or even the garlic may be too strong for you, right? But you want to follow the techniques that we're doing. And that's the most important thing is learning when you're cooking is understanding the technique and not so much getting too hung up on the ingredient. Obviously here, our ingredient is focused on vegetables. So I'm going to grate up this garlic. Oh yeah, look how easy that is. I love that. Boom. We'll do all 3.
So is the molasses in place of the umami sauce?
Yeah, well, I kind of just combined everything together in that umami sauce. So that's a good point. So the umami sauce is kind of a sub-recipe that's in the book here. And for our purposes today, it's basically those ingredients together that we're adding. So I just kind of put them all separate out so we can all read what they are. But that's a good point. Umami is a great thing. Olivia, would you like to describe what umami is?
Yeah, like on your tongue.
On your tongue.
Taste buds.
It is a taste bud, yeah.
Like there's certain parts of your tongue that have different flavors.
Oh, I threw her on the spot. She did pretty good. Nice job. Yeah. Yeah, umami is something a lot of people have not heard before, but it is something coined by Japanese culture. We all know sweet, sour, salty, bitter, right? And if you don't know, your tongue is full of different receptors, right? And that's how you taste. And each one of those receptors is a different shape, right? Some have like little fuzzy arms, some are like a little knob. So each receptor is different. Obviously, we know the sweet is on the tongue and bitter is on the back. That's why when you taste something that tastes sweet, it's on the front of your tongue. But umami is something that they discovered, I really don't know, but it wasn't that long ago, that they feel there's another sense of taste. And it's kind of salty and sweet at the same, or salty and sweet and multiple flavors at one time. And so an umami flavor is, soy sauce is like umami flavor. It's a sensation that you eat. A really ripe tomato, a nice seared scallop. It's hard to describe some of those flavors that you eat, and that's called umami. So there's a whole category of flavors that don't just say, well, it's just salty or sweet. It's a sense of umami. Shiitake mushrooms, that has umami-rich flavors. Doesn't necessarily mean it's better for you, but.
Can I ask about garlic?
Yes.
Is grating garlic preferred over mincing garlic? And is there a reason?
No, it's not preferred. Sometimes I like to either do a chip of garlic, or I'll want to get it nice and finely cooked. And for this particular recipe, since we're kind of sauteing in water, I think it's going to be a good application for that. But this would be the same as doing like a garlic press. It would come out kind of very similar. But always get fresh garlic, those little jars of garlic. I would prefer either garlic salt or fresh garlic. Those are your 2 options. Garlic salt is not, if it's garlic powder, I should say, it's kind of fresh garlic that's been frozen in time, right? And minced garlic is frozen a long time ago. It's older. So, but good question. Any other good questions coming along? Yeah.
Could you repeat what you put in the umami sauce? You had, I remember molasses.
Yeah, the molasses and the tahini, which I don't have here today. Miso, rice vinegar, and then it's all everything that we separated out here, and the chili flakes, the garlic, and the ginger, and those could all be combined together. So I kind of combined those together to create that umami flavor, but I've separated them all out here today for the sense so you can kind of see what we're doing. All right, and then we need to do our lemon peel. So here, once again, we can do it with a zest, or we can do it with a peeler. We can do it with a box grater, or we can do it with a zester or microplaner. I like my zest, but I also like my microplaner as well. So you can see how quickly and easy it is, if you're a baker. This is really, a must to have in the kitchen. It's really kind of a game changer in the wide ones. But also, I do like the old-fashioned way too, because if I were to cut that peel off, right, and if I were to dice that up like this is something that I would do, say if I were macerating strawberries or something like that with some sugar or honey. I would want to rub the sugar in with that zest really good, and it releases the essential oils really nicely. You're going to get the same oil release from this, but this way you still get the bite in it. So it's a preference. Once again, it's super technical and it's kind of irrelevant, but if you have been cooking for a long time and you are looking for other ways to use things, or maybe solidify, hey, I'm looking for a change, or I can't really figure out why that works or doesn't work, these are some good little tips and tricks. All right, so we have our lemon, our garlic, our ginger, our onion. You got some carrot over there?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll put that in the cup. Can you do me a favor? Can you put those onions in the cup? I know you love doing that. Can you just grab those onions? These snow peas I'm going to cut up while Olivia's doing that. The recipe I think calls for green peas. I don't know, I got some snow peas. I'm going to cut them up. You can use frozen peas. You can use canned peas if you want. But peas are a good flavor. You could use snow peas. Once again, don't get too caught up on the ingredient, right? If you don't have any snow peas and you want to put some corn in there, put some corn in there. You like red peppers. So there's nothing really specific to that, right? Every one of you is very different on your likes and your experiences since birth. And your food experiences have all been shaped by everything that you've eaten. And that becomes your preference. So at home you get to choose what you want to do. So this is just a guideline. The basic principle is understanding how to be low fat, low sodium in this diet. So I'm just going to kind of cut these into little bias cuts. Once again, learning how to use a knife is a really important thing in the kitchen. Knife safety is important, but I let Olivia cut just about anything with my Big Chef's knife since she was a young girl. And how many fingers you got?
2.
The real question is, how many stitches has she had? How many stitches have you had?
0.
Okay, good. I was the worst. I cut myself all the time as a kid. So I'm just going to cut these into a nice little coin shape. Fresh vegetables are really important. Cooking seasonal is really, really important, right? You have that flavor in there. So I'd say with this recipe also, this is a leftover recipe, right? So let's say you have leftover rice or any kind of grain that you have. This is a good way to use it up on the next day, right? I currently work at a school, right? So I'm the food service director at a boarding school. And we cook for 300 hungry kids, 3 meals a day. And I cook large volumes right now. And we often do fried rice because we serve a lot of rice in general. And it's just a great way to take a leftover, even maybe some leftover vegetables that you had the night before. Chop them up, right? Throw them in there. Fried rice is just a good vessel to add some flavor and some nutrition. So we're going to mince up some scallions. Same thing. This is the principle I like to hold. A knife. I'm going to run that right along my finger. I'm going to cut straight down. I'm going to cut carefully but confidently. Having a sharp knife is also important. The dull knives will always cut you, and I'm sure everyone's heard that, but a sharp knife usually won't. The only time you really ever cut yourself is if you're being distracted or if you're tired. That's usually when I hurt myself. When I cut a lot, I'm really tired, and you lose focus on what you're doing. All right. I think we got everything together there. And so now simply we just kind of want to put everything together. I have a little portable burner here, and we're going to do our best to cook on that. I brought a little wok from my house. I like this thing. It's pretty lightweight. You know, it's easy to use. You could use any saute pan that you have. I'm not a big fan of nonsticks. They're really not that great, and if your nonstick is all chewed up, get rid of it. It's no good. But you want a good heavy-duty pan. Anything works. I actually got this from the thrift store. I love this thing. I take it camping with me. It's a great little pan. You don't have to always go spend a lot of money. Now, I've spent some money on pots and pans. There's no doubt about that. So I won't hide behind that. But sometimes you don't have to. You know, so a little wok is a fun little investment, I find. All right. So was there some water somewhere? We're going to need water. Was there a gallon of water? There we go. So here we go with this water concept. I just have a jug of water here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a small amount of water into this hot pan, and then we're going to add our garlic, our ginger, our lemon, and our scallion, and our little bit of our chili flake, and we're just going to kind of cook it like we're sautéing it. It's not going to be the exact same. When you fry things in oil, yes, you're going to get a different flavor. But you're still releasing the essential oils, you're releasing the cellular structure of the flavor, and all the nutrition back into there. And the other thing, is there a little, there it is. This is the term for, there we go. Now, when you're doing this with oil and or water, you want to kind of go quickly here. This is a quick frying. And there's nothing wrong with using fat either. So, don't feel like if adding olive oil or even a little butter, if that's okay with your diet and it works for you and your health, go ahead and use that. But if you're looking for a low fat, that's what we're doing here. So here we go. We'll get it into the pan. It's going to steam up a little bit. And then we're just going to add those ingredients in there, just like that. It's kind of like a quick little boil. And so we have the garlic, the ginger, the lemon. I'm going to put it, whatever amount of heat that you want. Here, I'm going to add a little teaspoon of chili flake. You could easily add serrano peppers, jalapeno peppers. You got peppers in the garden. So we're just going to cook that down. And so we're sauteing it. And we're going to cook the rawness out of that. And if you need to add a little bit more water, you can do so. Ooh, I scared you. See her jump? And so that's kind of what we got going on right there. It's just like we're sauteing, right? But if you want a nice low-fat diet, you really have to make choices. And fat really adds up quickly in your day. Fat's in more things than you could imagine than just what you put into your pan. It's in a lot of your ingredients of your food as well. All right, it's starting to toast up good. All right, Olivia, you want to come over here? Yeah. All right, you want to throw those carrots in here and the onions? Perfect. And then let's add a little more water. I'm going to grab that jug of water. So the water's evaporating out. We'll add a little bit more water. Go for it. Go, 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 go. That's good. Perfect. So the basic principle is the same as oil. You're just using water. And you're not boiling it either. You're evaporating it back in. So everything continues to concentrate that flavor. So that's what we're working on right now. All right, and we're going to want to cook those onions a little bit, get that rawness out. All right, Olivia, what do we need to add next? Let's add that broccoli and the scallions in there. Perfect. That's enough onion there. All right, now we've got a little saute. Very good. Once again, we got a lot of vegetables in there, right? Lots of nutrition, carrots, peas, broccoli, onion, ginger, garlic. All of that is adding great flavors, right? Lots of flavors. from the onion family, right? Lots of bright color. Eating with bright color is really good. Now, next step, we're going to add a little bit of the miso paste. So most people raise their hand know what miso is. Miso soup, you probably heard. Miso soup, right? Miso soup is basically water or broth and then a little bit of this paste. And if you have never seen it before, it kind of looks like that. I don't know. What does that look like to you? What consistency? Applesauce a little bit?
Like peanut butter. Puree.
Peanut butter.
beans?
It looks like pureed beans?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's what it is. No, it doesn't. No, I think it looks like peanut butter, right? So we're going to add a tablespoon or so of that right on in there. This is a pretty strong flavor by itself, right? And then we're going to add, once again, this is the essence of umami. We're going to add that molasses, about a tablespoon right here. Going to drizzle that in there. Now the ingredient I wasn't able to get, because I didn't have it today, was the tahini, but I'm sure you'll forgive me. We're going to add about a tablespoon of rice wine vinegar or so. Not really measuring. And we're going to put some of that lemon juice in there. There we go. I'm not going to do BAM. I know a lot of people like. You guys all know BAM? You guys know where BAM came from? Anyone? So, from Emerald, yeah. So he did that. He's a maniac chef, and I mean that in like a respectful way. He ran several restaurants and started his cooking show career. And the reason BAM came around was he would film like, I don't know how many episodes, 3 episodes in one day, which is a lot, right? Because he had to run his restaurants, run in New York, film a TV show. And, you know, for him, he was very busy. So he ran the camera crew so tired and ragged, they would go for 10 days, three shows a day, because that's what he had to do. He could only be away from the restaurant that long. And so everyone would be getting sleepy or tired, and he'd be watching the camera crew, be like, so he'd go, bam, and he'd yell, and then they would wake up. So that's really where BAM came from. You all don't look like you're sleeping. All right, so we have most of our ingredients in there. I'm just going to give it a little taste here. You got the sweetness, the spice. The onions is cooked out. The broccoli is just cooked. The peas are still crunchy, good and spicy. I like that. And then we're going to add the rice. Now, like I said, I think in the printed recipe, I think it just calls for brown rice. But I decided I had some really nice red quinoa, so I added that in there. You could add wild rice. You could add kind of any whole grain you want. There's no right or wrong to that, you know. And you can purposely cook it or use a leftover. If you want to add a bean, you could add a black bean. There's really no rules to a lot of this because we're not trying to make traditional fried rice, right? So we'll add a little bit of that in there. Once again, we're just showing you the technique here. Olivia, you want to add a little bit of water in there? Please and thank you. Perfect. That's good. We're going to stir it around. Just want to get that rice cooked and warmed. That's looking really good. So right now you can kind of see, you know, the rice is all incorporated. We got a lot of nice vegetables in there. All that flavor is in there. And most importantly, we have all that nutrition in there. So I think we got everything in there. We're just going to put a little bit of green onions on top to garnish.
Your spatula's not melting?
Not yet. No. These red-handled ones are actually from the restaurant. They're high temperature, so they can go up to 500 degrees. So.
And the quinoa was cooked?
The quinoa was cooked. So, so that's kind of the essence of the fried rice, the unfried rice. Hopefully you enjoyed and learned a few things. So right now I just want to take a few questions. Olivia, if you don't mind laying out some little plates right there.
Condition. What foods did you stay away from, and what foods did you incorporate? Because you said you had to start making other choices.
Yeah, so I ate off a MS paleo diet designed by Dr. Tara Walls, who's gone on to be very predominant in the autoimmune community. And she gave a tremendously excellent TED Talk about 14 years ago now, talking about the diet she developed, right? So that diet consists of 3 plates of full color, 3 plates of green leafy vegetables, and three cups of alternative vegetables. So 9 cups of vegetables a day, fruits and vegetables, and grass-fed meats, organ meats, and a lot of salmon or fish that was high in omega-3. So for me, that's what I did. I ate that diet religiously, and it was hard. I had to change everything that I thought about eating. I didn't eat eggs and toast for breakfast anymore. I was having salmon and vegetables. So that diet was to help regrow myelin sheath, which is the delaminate process of MS. So MS is the delamination of the myelin sheath of the nerves of your body. And then once the nerve coating has eroded or been eaten away, you're left with kind of raw nerves. And that's why MS is it's different for everybody, because we have thousands of nerves. Or how many nerves do we have in our body? I don't know. Millions? Trillions? Okay, I don't know. See, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. We got 10. I got 10 nerves. All 10 nerves are shot, where, some people may have a vision problem because it's affected a nerve. For me, it was more my legs were really the problem. But, I'll tell you this, when Olivia was born and when I was diagnosed, I couldn't put my hands above my head. I couldn't bring in groceries. I couldn't mow my lawn. I can run around ragged. I can work a 15-hour day in a kitchen like a 20-year-old.
And how long was it before you started feeling these beneficial effects?
Like I said, it was about 3 years, that I felt like I thought something changed for me. When for me, chronic fatigue was really hard. I was really tired a lot, and so when that started to dissipate, I started to get some traction. But it's still a battle. It doesn't go away. It's something I have to fight. We all have to, make those choices every day. And like I said, just recently I've really had to change a lot, because I had kind of another element happen in my body, and I'm probably sure more will come, and I had to shift my eating. And it was really coincidentally here at this clinic that my regular practicing doctor really worked well with me and helped me understand how I needed to change my diet. And I'd already spent 12 years focused on my diet, and yet I'm still relearning it again this year, because I had to eliminate a lot of the vegetables that no longer my body was able to digest. It had nothing to do with other than something else went wrong with my body.
I think it's remarkable because I have a sister who has MS, and she's doing the best she can with it. She's still mobile and everything. You're incredibly mobile.
Yeah, and everyone, some people can have MS and live a full life, and then towards the end of life it does get hard, and some people it usually happens in your 30s or 40s, and it's debilitating right away. And so it's such an enigma. You just don't know, but you do have to be proactive.
You mentioned regrowing myelin sheath. Now, back in the dark ages when I went to school, we couldn't do that.
Well, I believe, and I'm not a doctor, that I believe if I cut my finger, it's going to heal. I believe our bodies are designed to heal themselves. Not true for everybody in every situation, but at least that's my mindset, is that I try to feel that our bodies can heal themselves. And there's no metrics to that, per se, other than CAT scans and my basic, or my MRI, but my basic well-being of my life, that there must be a reason for that. It just didn't happen.
Yeah,
and
when we were through med school 20 years ago, we would say that the brain was pretty much fixed And we've learned more in the last 20 years about the brain and the nervous system than the rest of human history combined. So there's no doubt what he's done, the tools that he's used has helped reverse his MS, and we've seen it actually.
But it's a humble approach because everyone is so different. Everyone can only tolerate certain things, and it's very complex. But to me, it's just a mindset of wanting to have the will. You know, for me, I was motivated by the fact that, well, I wasn't ready to give up my career, and I wasn't ready to give up my family. So, you know, we all have our different motivations to have the will to kind of go on and fight things. And you have to be open. I'll share, you know, when I told you I had that video, right? This is a story I often tell is I was, at that time, I didn't know what was going on, and then I was newly diagnosed, and I didn't even know what MS really was, quite honestly. I was like, I was shocked and stunned, but I really didn't know what it was. And at the time, I was getting some like chiropractic work and some other work just to help my physical body, because at the time at a health clinic in Westminster called Sojourns. And I was also seeing a reflexologist because I was like, I was in a lot of pain. I was doing whatever I could to manage that pain before I was even diagnosed. So there was a woman who was giving me some reflexology, and then she heard about my diagnosis, and she said, well, you know, I hear ashwagandha root is really good for people with MS. So there's you know, like an herbal pharmacology place in this clinic. And so one day, I'd never been back there before. I went into this little herbology area, and I was looking around, and I was very private, not nearly as open as I am about it now. I didn't want anyone to know, you know, that something was wrong with me. So I was looking around, and I think her name was Bonnie, was the herbalist at the time, and she came up to me, and not to stereotype myself as a man, but I didn't want any help. I just, you know, I wasn't open to that. And she asked me, she goes, do you need any help? And I was looking for ashwagandha root, right? And I was going to say, no, I'm fine. But this is a true story. I said, yeah, I do need some help. I'm looking for ashwagandha root. And then I shared my story. I just got diagnosed with MS and whatnot. And she looked at me in complete surprise and shock. He goes, oh my gosh, I'm watching this video. And I'm not kidding you. Right at that moment, she was at her desk, and she was watching that video that a friend had told her about the TEDx talk with Dr. Terry Walls. And she pulled me over because I'm watching this video right now. And I was just, sometimes life is like that. And so at that moment, I always tell people at the Power, always say yes and ask for help. Say yes, because you don't know. If I would have said no, I might not even be here right at this moment, I don't think, or have been on this path that I've been on if I hadn't said something at that moment. And she's also the same person. I said, well, can you help me? Are you familiar with MS and anything that might help me? And she goes, well, I'm really not, but I've heard of this guy. And he really specializes with patients with multiple sclerosis, and he's really well known for it. And so we closed out her computer on that video, and I wrote that address down. And then we looked this gentleman up, and he was an herbalist known for autoimmune diseases, but more specifically MS. And he's kind of has some formulas that help regrow myelin sheath and supposedly can really have some good benefits. Well, where is he? I don't know. Let's find out where he is. He's not around here. It's just on the internet. And we find out, oh, he's in Wilmington, Delaware. Well, lo and behold, I'm from Minnesota, but my family is all migrated to Wilmington, Delaware. And not only that, it was a block from my mother's house, literally. And it was near Thanksgiving, and I was going down there anyway. And so that day, I left Sojourns with a video and an address that, you know, changed the course of my life. Yeah, yep. Dr. Tolson, and he has Chrysalis Medicine.
T-O-L-S-O-N?
I'm a horrible speller. I'll have to. Chrysalis Medicine will be the best way, and he's in Wilmington, Delaware. And his wife is an acupuncturist. But he works in conjunction with modern medicine too. So he's also, once again, it goes back to working with your healthcare professionals working with your home and your diet, and if you're into yoga or anything of that nature that can help round out your health, you need all of it. You need to be able to know how to breathe for your health, reduce stress in your life. All of those are factors. They all kind of add up. Yes.
Had you ever heard of Judy Graham?
It sounds familiar. That sounds familiar, but I'm not totally familiar.
1986, she wrote the book Managing Multiple Sclerosis Naturally.
Oh, wow.
And she and her husband is an MD, he's an OBGYN, and his name is Michael Oden. And the two of those folks worked with an organization. They helped gather other doctors and scientists in England, which had national health insurance. So there wasn't anybody who wanted to keep you sick because they'd lose money if you got better. The insurance companies and whatever weren't afraid of this.
Well, it was pioneers like that that help us continue to move forward.
The Association to Overcome MS. And she was an editor. She wrote the magazine Pathways. And in her book, she says to eliminate saturated fat and gluten, because the two of those are chemically similar to the myelin, which is like an electrical coating on the nerves. And so when that substance is present inside your body, or the substances that mimic it or that look like it or act like it or whatever, it can trigger an attack of MS. And basically being an autoimmune disease, her approach is to, anytime the immune system acts, your MS gets worse, because that's what the whole thing is. Your immune system's working backwards.
It is. It's eating itself alive.
Right. So the way to manage it naturally is to make it so that it does not need to act. And that way you put, at that moment, and for that moment, your disease is in remission. Because it's not active.
Correct. And that paleo diet, or that MS paleo, same thing. There's no gluten in that diet and very low fat.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of the things that you're mentioning are very similar to what she has. But anyway, she's updated the book several times. It's published in Vermont at Healing Arts Press in Rochester, Vermont.
I have been newly inspired, and I have not heard of that book. So here, once again, we're all sharing. So thank you very much. Yes. I'm a big clapper.
That's a great point to end on and to start to get you fed. But really, this point that when we eat whole foods, real foods, plants, your immune system should not be responsive. When we eat processed foods, ultra-processed foods, our immune system responds because it senses it as an invader, as a toxin, right? So that's a little seed to take away with you from today. Okay? Jason has valiantly created this dish to share with folks, so please, if you're ready.
Yeah, yep.